It's no longer possible to go back, not because something outside of you is stopping you, but because a deeper truth inside of you has awakened, and once that happens, there's no returning to who you used to be. You're now standing at the very edge of an energetic threshold, one that marks the end of an old story and the beginning of something you can't quite describe yet, but can undeniably feel in your bones. What took place on June 4th wasn't just a date on the calendar. It wasn't just another spiritual update floating in the background of your life. It was the final activation of one of the most potent energetic portals of the year. The completion of the 369 portal, a cosmic code that carries deep transformational power. Whether you're fully aware of it or not, something extraordinary has just shifted. And if you don't take a moment to pause, to really feel what's happening, you may miss one of the rarest opportunities your soul has been waiting for. One that won't come again in this exact way for a very long time. This isn't about fear or urgency. This is about reverence. It's about understanding the magnitude of this energetic point in your life and what it's asking of you. Because this portal is not passive. It's not waiting for you to be ready. It is here. It is activated. And it is alive inside your reality. The 369 portal, now fully awakened, is more than just a numerological alignment. It's a multi-dimensional frequency, one that bridges the spiritual with the material, the soul with the mind, the past with the future. And its completion signifies the arrival of what many call the 5D awakening, not as a faraway idea, but as something you are now experiencing in real time. This energy doesn't ask for permission. It moves with intention, with force, and with clarity. It draws you inward. It pulls you into the depths of your own becoming. And it places a mirror in front of your soul, asking, are you aligned with the version of yourself that's trying to emerge? Or are you still living out the patterns of an outdated timeline that can no longer carry the fullness of your energy? You may have felt the spark of this shift beginning on June 3rd, but June 4th brought the wave, the moment where the shift became fully embodied. You're now standing in what many call a spiritual liminal space, a place that exists between what was and what will be. It's a sacred threshold, a field where your soul is undergoing reconstruction. In this field, the energy of 369 does not whisper. It roars. It shakes loose what's false, what's heavy, what's outdated. It does not care how long you've clung to your comfort zones. It only cares that you're finally ready to release them. If you've been feeling emotionally overwhelmed, strangely nostalgic, or flooded by memories you thought you had moved on from, it's not a regression. It's not weakness. It's the signal that your inner self is being stretched. You're expanding. You're being asked to shed the emotional weight you've carried for too long. And the reason it feels so intense right now is because the portal is narrowing. And as it narrows, everything that doesn't align with your true frequency is being highlighted. Not to punish you, but to give you the gift of clarity. To show you what you must let go of if you're ever going to fully step into the light of who you truly are. This is not just an energetic moment, it's a soul event. One that is working its way through your nervous system, your thoughts, your patterns, your choices, even if your conscious mind doesn't have the language to make sense of it yet. Your spirit knows. Your body knows. Your dreams know. And soon, your mind will catch up too. The confusion you've been feeling, the strangeness in your relationships, the unexplained distance you feel from familiar things, it's all part of the same unraveling. The world you once built is making space for something higher, something more aligned, something you came here to experience but forgot along the way. And if you're reading this now, it's not a coincidence. You didn't land here by mistake. There's a part of you that has been waiting for this very confirmation. A part of you that already knows this moment is sacred. You're here because something in you is ready to wake up, ready to remember, ready to trust the process of becoming, even when it's messy and unclear. The 369 portal carries the energy of creation, alignment, and completion. And it moves in a rhythm: initiation, integration, and closure. June 3rd marked the spark, the beginning of something new. June 5th will seal the shift. But today, this moment right here, is the pivot, the choice, the in-between. It's the place where illusions begin to dissolve, and the truth of your soul rises to the surface. But the question is, will you let it rise? Will you surrender to the version of yourself that has been quietly waiting in the wings? Or will you resist and cling to what's familiar even if it no longer fits? You may notice signs, synchronicities, strange dreams, or even tensions in your relationships. And none of that is random. It's part of your recalibration. It's part of your awakening. The universe isn't trying to confuse you. It's trying to get your attention. It's trying to show you that your external world is mirroring the shift already taking place inside of you. The dreams you've been having, the people showing up from the past, the repeating numbers on clocks, receipts, and signs. It's all communication. Not just from the universe, but from your higher self. From the part of you that's already made the leap and is now guiding you through the space between who you've been and who you're becoming. Here's something important to understand. Real transformation rarely looks like a peaceful beginning. It often starts in chaos, in discomfort, in confusion. Because change isn't always gentle, especially not when it's this deep. You may feel like you're being stretched beyond your limits, and you are. But only because your soul knows how much more you're capable of. You're not being punished. You're being pulled into alignment, not by comfort, but by a frequency that demands truth, that demands integrity, that demands your full presence. You're not here to just survive this shift. You're here to embody it, to become it, to rise with it. And yes, that means making some uncomfortable decisions. It means saying goodbye to what no longer serves you, even if it once gave you purpose. It means allowing the unknown to become your teacher and trusting that even in the discomfort, you are being guided. The energetic decisions being made right now are soul level. They will echo into every area of your life. Relationships, career, health, purpose. The question isn't whether change is happening. It's already happening. The only question is, are you willing to let it carry you forward? If you felt like certain people are acting differently, like old conversations are resurfacing, or like echoes of your past are repeating themselves in strange ways, don't dismiss it. These are not accidents. They are signals. They are invitations. The portal is revealing the places where you've been asleep, the choices you've made out of fear, the paths you've stayed on out of habit. But it's also showing you what's possible when you let go. It's showing you who you can become when you stop holding yourself back. And this is your moment. The doorway is still open. The frequency is still flowing. But it won't wait forever. These portals, these sacred windows, come when the collective energy is ripe for awakening. And if you miss it, life will continue. But something in you may feel like it missed a turning point. And that is a heaviness that is hard to carry. So if you're feeling uncertain, if your world feels unfamiliar, Let yourself feel it all. Let yourself grieve what's ending and celebrate what's beginning, even if you don't know what it is yet. Trust that the unfamiliar is not your enemy. It is your invitation. Your soul already knows where it's going. Your job is not to control the path. It's to trust it. When you finally allow yourself to step into the full frequency of this 369 portal, everything begins to shift. The reason things feel unstable isn't because something's wrong. It's because you're finally moving into a frequency where the old can no longer survive. The stories, the fears, the patterns, the identities that once made sense, they're falling away. Not to leave you empty, but to make room for something true, something sacred, something that was always meant to be yours. You won't always be handed a roadmap when the universe calls you into transformation. The signs won't arrive in perfect clarity, and the certainty you might crave won't come packaged neatly at your feet. Instead, what shows up is movement, strong, sometimes disorienting waves of momentum. You'll feel things speeding up. You'll feel pressure mounting from places you can't quite name. And just when you think you found a moment of stillness, the ground might shift again beneath you. That's what real transformation feels like. It's not soft at first. It's not cozy or gentle. It's not here to make you feel comfortable. It's here to strip away what's false so you can remember what's true. It doesn't tiptoe into your life like a kind whisper. It crashes in like a sacred storm, making it impossible to ignore the deeper truths you've been avoiding. The energy moving through your life now is not chaos for the sake of destruction. It's a sacred invitation to authenticity. It's about stripping away the layers you've outgrown and giving birth to the version of you that's been buried underneath compromise and survival. Most people have this idea that spiritual alignment feels like serenity right from the start. But the truth is, it often begins by shaking the foundation of everything you thought you needed to be. Alignment isn't always calm. It's often messy. It breaks down illusions. It dissolves false identities. It pulls apart what no longer serves you. And yes, it can feel like you're falling apart. But what if you are? And what if that's exactly what's supposed to happen? Because not everything that falls apart is a failure. Sometimes it's divine timing. Sometimes it's your soul clearing the way for something deeper, something more aligned, something that's been waiting to emerge for far too long. The old patterns, the tired roles, the emotional debris, they were never meant to last. And the discomfort you're feeling now? It's the sacred friction that signals change is happening on the deepest levels of your being. We are now within the sacred rhythm of the 369 portal, a powerful, energetic gateway encoded with divine intelligence. The number 3 is the spark, the catalyst that triggers transformation. The number 6 is the stabilizer. It draws the energy down into your life and begins the process of integration. And the number 9? That's the cosmic broom. It sweeps out the old, the stagnant, the expired parts of you and your story that are ready to be released. Right now, you're in the heart of that cycle. You're somewhere in the sacred in-between, where the shift has been activated, but the clarity hasn't fully landed, and that space can feel disorienting. It might show up as emotional overwhelm or mental fog. You might feel like you're on the verge of something, but you can't quite name what. That's okay. You don't have to name it yet. You just have to stay with it. This middle ground is where the alchemy happens. It's where your nervous system starts to recalibrate. It's where your intuition sharpens, even as your mind struggles to keep up. It's where your soul starts to lead, and your ego feels threatened. And all of that is normal. All of it is part of the process. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are being shaped by forces far wiser and more ancient than your conscious mind can comprehend. The universe isn't here to punish you. It's not playing games or pushing you to your edge just to test your limits. It's aligning you with your truth. It's drawing you back into sacred harmony with the reason you came here. And every uncomfortable feeling, every difficult choice, every moment of raw vulnerability is part of that realignment. You are being asked to become more of who you truly are, not the version of you that others expect, not the one who's easy to be around, but the one who is fully alive. What you're experiencing now isn't random. It's not accidental. You're not here by chance. You are undergoing a deep recalibration, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even physically. The things that once fit may no longer feel comfortable. The relationships you've relied on may begin to shift. The habits and patterns you used to find soothing might now feel like distractions. That's not a failure. That's growth. That's the shedding of old skins that can no longer contain your expanding soul. And that's just the beginning. If you stay with this energy, if you remain present instead of numbing out, if you choose truth over comfort and growth over fear, this portal can unlock something extraordinary. But you have to be willing to sit in the fire a little while longer. You have to be willing to feel what's rising. You have to be brave enough to witness what's being revealed without running from it. Because what's surfacing now is asking for your attention. Not so you can fix it, not so you can judge it, but so you can integrate it. So you can learn what's yours to carry forward and what's finally ready to be released. And that release may not always look graceful. It might come through tears, through frustration, through the aching silence of things unsaid. It might even look like a breakdown. But don't mistake that for weakness. Sometimes a breakdown is the beginning of a breakthrough. Ask yourself, what part of you is trying to be born through this process? What version of you is stretching and pushing from within, asking for space to exist? Because that version, the one that's whole, the one that's rooted in clarity and purpose and strength, is already waiting for you on the other side. But you won't meet them if you keep resisting the shedding of the old. You won't meet them if you keep hiding in what's familiar just to avoid discomfort. This is a season of integration and release. And everything you've been resisting letting go of will start to resist you back. That resistance might look like anxiety. It might come as obsessive thoughts, as endless questions with no answers, as chaos that makes no sense on the surface. But what if none of that is a sign of failure? What if the mess is the medicine? What if the chaos isn't something to escape, but something to embrace? Because in the sacred language of the soul, chaos often signals that you're no longer pretending. You're no longer shrinking to fit. You're no longer prioritizing comfort over authenticity. And yes, that can feel like everything is falling apart. But really, it means you're finally falling into alignment. This portal wasn't opened to break you. It's here to bring you back to what's real, to guide you to that quiet place within, the place that still dreams, still aches, still believes in more, even when your outer world feels empty. That sacred place, untouched by fear or conditioning, is the part of you this portal is reaching for. But it can't bring you there if you're still playing small. It can't elevate you if you're still hiding behind masks, saying yes when you mean no, or silencing your truth to avoid conflict. Those habits may have once felt like peace, but now they're becoming unbearable. Because they're not peace. They're tiny betrayals of your spirit. And you can't keep betraying your spirit and still expect to rise into the life you're meant for. This energy doesn't need you to be louder or quieter. It doesn't need you to adjust yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. It needs you to be honest, to be whole, to be real. Not the version of you that performs for love, not the one who overgives just to avoid rejection. That version is tired. That version is done. This portal won't carry through what drains your soul. It will only accelerate what aligns with your truth. And yes, love, empathy, and compassion are still sacred. But not when they're used as tools to suppress your needs or silence your voice. That's not healing. That's self-abandonment wearing a spiritual mask. What's being activated now is something far more ancient. It's your original frequency, your soul's unedited truth, and anything in your life that blocks or dims that light, whether it's a relationship, a limiting belief, or an old wound, is going to feel louder until you finally make a choice. Maybe you've told yourself that the pain taught you valuable lessons. Maybe you've wrapped it in spiritual quotes and tried to make peace with it intellectually. But if your heart still clenches when the memory surfaces, if it still steals your breath or causes your eyes to water, it's not healed. It's hidden. It's been pushed down, covered up, and dressed in spiritual language. But underneath it all, it still hurts. And healing doesn't mean denying that hurt. It means turning toward it. It means creating space for it to breathe. It means telling the truth, not just about what happened, but about how it felt. And it means being honest about what you still need to release, even if part of you is still holding on out of habit, loyalty, or fear. This portal is not about bypassing the hard stuff. It's about meeting it with love and truth. It's about returning to yourself, not the filtered version, not the curated story, but the raw, radiant truth of who you are beneath it all. This portal sees right through every illusion, no matter how skillfully you've painted over the truth. It's not swayed by how gracefully you've shaped your story, how beautifully you've wrapped your pain in resilience, or how convincingly you've smiled through the ache. It goes deeper than surface beauty or poetic suffering. It sees only what is still unhealed within you. Those old fragments of pain, the silent stories you haven't dared to speak, the forgotten echoes of your past. They don't just lie dormant. They slow you down. They weigh on your heart, dim your light, cloud your vision. And now, in this rare energetic moment, the universe isn't offering you stillness. It's inviting you into movement, pure, untamed, high-frequency motion. This isn't a gentle nudge or a soft whisper. It's a cosmic surge, a living, breathing current. The 369 portal is not just a passageway. It's an energetic force that doesn't allow you to stand still. And if you try to move forward while still clutching the ghosts of who you used to be, you won't rise into your next chapter. You'll be pulled back into what you've already outgrown. You'll sink beneath the weight of stories that no longer belong to you. But here's the miracle of this moment. You're not being asked to release out of fear or pressure. You're being asked to release because your future self, the version of you who already said yes to freedom, is waiting. That version of you isn't exhausted from carrying everyone else's expectations. That version of you isn't dimming their voice or hiding behind their past just to fit into someone else's version of love. That version isn't pretending to be okay just to be accepted. This portal calls for radical honesty. It asks you to pause and face the spaces in your life where you've gone silent. Not because you had nothing to say, but because you were afraid your truth might cost you love. It asks you to recognize the moments when you shaped yourself into something smaller, softer, safer, not because it was right, but because it was familiar. The energy here doesn't exist to help you maintain the comfort zone you've outlived. It exists to shatter it wide open so you can finally step into the life you were meant to live. And you'll feel this in every layer of your being. Your body may speak first, with weariness that you can't explain, with bursts of energy that keep you up at night, with a restless fire that hums beneath your skin. Your breath may deepen, not because you're forcing it to, but because some part of you is finally ready to breathe fully again. Your thoughts might feel chaotic or looped. Old memories might resurface. Strange clarity might crash in at the most unexpected times. You might feel like you're unraveling, but in truth, you're finally being realigned. Your outer world will shift too. You may find that certain people begin to fade, not in anger or conflict, but because their chapter in your story is complete. Things you once relied on may fall away. Plans might dissolve. The road ahead may feel uncertain, but none of this is punishment. None of this is failure. It's the sacred, necessary chaos of realignment. Life is responding to your soul's yes, even before your conscious mind fully understands. The frequency of 3 cracks open the pathway. 6 becomes the bridge that carries you forward. And 9 doesn't ask for permission. 9 burns what's behind you, not to leave you lost, but to make sure you never look back in longing. That fire is not meant to scare you. It's there to remind you that you've already outgrown the life you're being asked to leave. You're not here to keep rehearsing an old script. You're here to write something entirely new. And yes, this new chapter won't look like the one you're leaving behind. But that's not a problem. That's the point. You're not meant to recreate the past. You're meant to evolve beyond it. So take a breath, let yourself feel, and ask from the deepest part of you, what weight am I still carrying that I know in my heart is no longer mine to hold? Who am I still pretending to be, just to keep things smooth, just to avoid conflict, just to be loved the way I once needed to be? Where in my life am I dimming my truth when everything inside me is begging me to shine? You already know the answers. That quiet voice inside you, the one you've doubted, questioned, buried, it's never been wrong. You don't need more signs. You don't need another confirmation. The portal doesn't wait for your doubts to be resolved. It opens the moment your soul surrenders, even if your thoughts are still catching up. So let today be the moment where you stop polishing the pain and finally choose to let it go. Let this be the turning point where you stop orbiting the truth and finally land inside of it. This passage is narrowing, and anything false, anything fake, anything forced, it's falling away. Not because your life is out of control, but because, for the first time, everything is aligning exactly as it should. And this portal, it doesn't force, it doesn't demand, but it will keep bringing your attention back to the places where your soul is heavy. It won't let you bypass the internal work. It won't be impressed by how long you've carried your pain or how strong your survival story is. It cares only about one thing. Are you willing to release what no longer serves the highest version of who you are becoming? Can you let go of the wound, even if it once taught you everything you know? Can you release the pain, even if you once called it your guide, your compass, your identity? Because the time is not later. It's not some abstract someday. The time is now. What if the memory you're holding on to, the one you've used as a blueprint for protection, is now the very thing blocking your growth? What if the pain you've nurtured has already given you all it came to give? Holding on might feel like strength, but real strength? It's in the release. True clarity doesn't arrive when everything feels perfect. It arrives the moment you step forward in trust, in motion, in surrender. This portal doesn't care how many signs you've asked for. It doesn't care how meticulously you've analyzed every piece of your journey. It isn't interested in whether you feel fully ready. The 369 frequency has already begun. It's moving, it's magnetic, it's alive, and it's calling to the parts of you that are already prepared to rise, even if you haven't fully realized it yet. So don't wait for everything to make sense. Don't wait for the timing to feel convenient. Don't wait for certainty before you move. This energy honors those who honor themselves. It flows with those who trust the flow. It responds to movement. It aligns with truth. And it carries those who say yes to becoming more than they've ever dared to be. Sometimes, the confirmation you long for doesn't arrive with trumpets or clear signs. It doesn't land in your lap, wrapped in certainty, or come as the perfect answer to your spiraling thoughts. Instead, it waits, quietly, patiently, for you to move first. It's about the soul remembering how to fly before the mind fully understands how. And it can be terrifying, stepping into something you don't fully understand. It shakes the foundation of all the logic you've built your life upon. But transformation was never meant to fit neatly inside your expectations. It's not about collecting proof or decoding every message before you take action. That craving for clarity, while human, can become a prison if it keeps you locked in place. And the truth is, you're not supposed to have every answer. You're not even meant to feel ready. Because readiness isn't always a state of being. It's a decision, a choice made in spite of fear, in spite of confusion. You keep asking, what if I make the wrong move? But what if the real danger isn't in movement? It's in stagnation. What if the biggest risk is in continuing to doubt yourself, in shrinking every time you feel the tremble of something bigger calling you? The fear isn't the problem. The hesitation isn't even the enemy. It's the refusal to act in the presence of your knowing that slows you down. Because there is a part of you that already knows. A part that's been whispering, tugging, guiding. And while your mind is busy calculating every possible outcome, your spirit has already started walking. You don't have to understand every twist and turn on the path. You just need the first step. The rest unfolds in ways you can't yet imagine. It rises in you as you walk, revealing itself with each breath of courage you take. And sometimes, it doesn't rise from within you at all. It shows up in your outer world. It arrives through moments that feel oddly timed, through familiar faces acting in unfamiliar ways, through sudden distance from those you once felt close to, through strange interactions that leave you unsettled. This isn't coincidence. It's energy, real, palpable, and shifting all around you. Before the external changes, the energetic blueprint of your life is rewritten. The field around you begins to shift before anything tangible does. People sense it, even if they don't understand it. They might start projecting, withdrawing, or pressing on old wounds you thought had healed. They may question your choices or plant seeds of doubt where you once felt secure. Some may begin to feel like anchors, pulling at the version of you they're most comfortable with, trying to tether you to who you used to be. But none of this is about them. It's about you and the direction you're heading. It's about the frequency you're starting to embody, one that vibrates higher than drama, higher than loops, higher than the smallness you once had to survive. As you get closer to your truth, the noise around you may grow louder. But that's not an indication to stop. It's a sign you're approaching something real. Resistance doesn't always mean wrong. It often means you're brushing up against the boundaries of your old life, the edges of your previous self. And here's the thing. You don't owe anyone your comfort. You don't have to dilute your evolution to keep others from feeling left behind. Growth is not betrayal. Becoming more of who you are is not abandonment. And clarity doesn't always come with softness. Sometimes it arrives like a sword, sharp, undeniable, cutting through illusion. Sometimes it demands that you choose yourself with such intensity that others are forced to reckon with their own lack of movement. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone is meant to. Their confusion, their resistance, their discomfort. That's not your load to carry. It's not your job to translate your transformation into a language they can digest. This journey isn't about convincing anyone to come with you. It's about answering the call that's been vibrating in your bones, the one that grows louder the longer you pretend you can't hear it. This portal, this moment, is not gentle. It's not here to cradle you in old stories or lull you into familiar patterns. It's a fire, a clearing, a force that burns through anything in your field that no longer serves where you're going. And yes, that can be painful. Yes, it can feel like loss, but not all endings are cruel. Some are merciful. Some are the beginning of breathing again, of living again, of finally feeling like yourself after years of wearing masks you forgot weren't yours. If someone's energy keeps you circling the same internal narrative, looping the same doubts, repeating the same emotional patterns, that's your sign. Not to stay and fix it, but to learn and move, to bless the lesson and walk forward. They can say what they need to say. They can misunderstand you. They can create stories that make them feel better about your absence. That's their path, not yours. The truth is, your life is not waiting for you to be fearless. It's not holding its breath for you to arrive at some perfect state of confidence. It's waiting for you to act, to step, to move toward the frequency that keeps tugging at your soul, because the door doesn't open when you finally feel ready. It opens when you decide to walk toward it, even with your heart pounding and your voice shaking. Think of all the versions of you that never got a chance to breathe. Not because you weren't capable, but because you were waiting. Waiting for the right sign, the right time, the right feeling. All those dreams you tucked away, all those visions that faded because you convinced yourself it wasn't the right moment. But what if the right moment is always now? What if the miracle doesn't arrive before you leap, but because you leap? This energy moving through you, this sacred pulse of 369, it's not here for approval. It doesn't need to be understood. It's here to ignite, to activate, to awaken you to your own fire. It doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for presence. It doesn't require certainty. It asks for surrender. Because clarity rarely leads the way, action does. And as you move, as you trust, as you say yes to the pull rather than the pause, everything begins to align in a way your logic never could have orchestrated. You don't need to feel safe to begin. You need to feel alive. Real alignment doesn't always feel calm. Sometimes it feels electric, raw, wild, like the earth itself is shifting beneath your feet. And in those moments, you won't always be able to explain why you're doing what you're doing. You won't always have a neat reason or a clear plan, but you'll feel it. Deep, unshakable, undeniable. That's the feeling you follow. That's the compass you trust. Not because it makes sense, but because it moves you. Because it refuses to let you stay in a life that no longer fits the magnitude of who you are becoming. So if you're still waiting for certainty, consider this your permission to stop. If you've been longing for a sign, let this be it. The stillness you feel around you, it's not the absence of energy. It's the universe holding its breath, watching, waiting, wondering, what will you choose now? You weren't made to blend in. You weren't designed to be small. And yet, somewhere along the way, you began to fold yourself into shapes that pleased others. You dimmed your light so it wouldn't burn too bright. You softened your voice so it wouldn't echo too loudly. But that wasn't humility. That was fear wearing a disguise. Now is the moment to reclaim yourself, to let the chains fall, to burn the old scripts and step fully into the truth that's been calling you all along. This frequency, this portal, this power, it's not just a passage. It's a rebirth. It's not a warning. It's a homecoming. And the version of you that's been waiting in the wings, she's ready now. Not because it's easy, but because it's time. If you've ever been told you were too much, too emotional, too loud, too intense, too dreamy, too deep, then maybe it's time to hear the truth from a different perspective. You were never too much. You were simply too expansive for the small boxes others tried to fit you in. Your spirit, your soul, your fire, they weren't flaws to tone down. They were gifts waiting for a space wide enough to hold them. But instead of trusting that there was a place, a person, a purpose that could meet you in your fullness, you started shrinking. You softened your voice, dimmed your light, silenced your intuition, and hoped that by playing it safe, you'd finally be accepted. And maybe for a time, that worked. Maybe you found comfort in the illusion of belonging. But deep down, you knew. You knew that hiding was costing you something sacred. You knew that every time you chose silence over truth, approval over authenticity, you were drifting further from the soul of who you are. That era of hiding is over. That version of you, the one who believed you had to make yourself smaller just to be loved, is dissolving now. And what's left behind is not brokenness, but brilliance. Your depth is not a burden. Your energy is not too intense. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. Your creativity is not extra. Every part of you that you've been told to downplay is actually what makes you unforgettable. These are the parts that hold your purpose, your essence, your magic. But yes, it does take courage to live out loud in a world that often prefers us muted. It takes courage to stop apologizing for your intensity and instead learn how to hold it with reverence. When you begin to radiate from your authentic self, something powerful happens. You shine. And when you shine, your light casts reflections. Some people will be drawn to that light like a lifeline. They'll feel seen, awakened, inspired, but others will flinch. They'll turn away. Not because of something wrong with you, but because your radiance stirs up something dormant in them. You become a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look. Some will walk away. Some will misunderstand you. Some may even try to dim your light, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. They may not be ready to face the parts of themselves you unconsciously awaken in them. But that is not your responsibility. You are not here to make everyone comfortable. You are not here to soothe the edges of other people's limitations. You are here to be true, to be whole, to live out the fullness of your spirit, even if it disrupts the comfort of those around you. And sometimes that wholeness will require separation. Growth doesn't always look like big public declarations. Sometimes it's a quiet walk away. Sometimes it's a subtle but powerful reclaiming of your energy. No explanations, no apologies. Just a soft but unwavering decision to stop watering the places that no longer nourish you. This moment you're in, it's not just another step forward. It's a threshold, a sacred turning point, a cosmic doorway between who you were and who you're becoming. One side offers the safety of the known, the patterns, the people, the mindsets that you've outgrown, but that still cling to your energy. The other side offers liberation, alignment, expansion. It asks for your trust, and only you can choose which way you walk. Ask yourself, with deep honesty, what are you still avoiding? What have you convinced yourself doesn't matter, just so you don't have to face the discomfort of change? When did you silence a truth just to be liked? When did you stay behind when every part of you was begging to move forward? This moment, this portal, is not asking for your perfection. It's asking for your truth. Raw, unfiltered, unapologetic truth. It doesn't want the polished version of you. It wants the real one. The one who has cried in the quiet of the night because she knew she was made for more. The one who has felt the tug of something greater, even when she couldn't explain it. The one who's been holding a dream in her chest for years, afraid to bring it to light. Don't ignore that pull. Don't dismiss the whispers of your soul just because they aren't shouting. The truth rarely shouts. It hums. It pulses. It waits. But every time you deny it, every time you bury it beneath shoulds and expectations, you chip away at your own freedom. And right now, nothing is more sacred than freedom. The energy you're feeling is not chaos. It's clarity in disguise. It's the unraveling of everything false. The roles you've played, the masks you've worn, the people-pleasing habits that drained your life force. The performance is ending, and in its place, something ancient is reawakening. The 369 portal you're walking through now is not simply a date on the calendar. It's a divine blueprint. 3, the spark, the initiation, the call to rise. 6, the alignment, the balance, the inner harmony. 9, the completion, the embodiment, the return to truth. You're in the midst of that sacred sequence, and each phase is calling you to let go of another illusion, to remember who you are beneath the conditioning. This portal isn't here to make you comfortable. It's here to make you whole. And wholeness often begins with discomfort. Because to truly become yourself, you must unbecome everything you were told to be. The world will always offer you reasons to dim your light, but your soul will always offer you one reason not to. You were born to shine, not for attention, not for ego, but because your light is healing. It's honest. It's necessary. You don't have to justify it. You just have to live it. And yes, people will notice. Some will celebrate your transformation. Others will question it. But none of that changes the fact that change is necessary. Evolution is non-negotiable when you're aligned with your truth. You weren't meant to stay the same. You weren't meant to keep everyone else comfortable while you quietly drowned in your own suppression. You were meant to rise. And that rise will cost you your comfort. It may cost you relationships. It will absolutely cost you your former self. But the reward is your freedom, your authenticity, your joy. This is the point of no return, and that's a beautiful thing. Let the old fall away. Let the false identities dissolve. Let the masks burn in the fire of your truth. The you who emerges from that fire will be untouchable. Not because she's hard or cold, but because she is real. Because she knows who she is. Because she chose herself, even when it wasn't easy. If you've been waiting for permission, this is it. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been wondering whether it's okay to be your full self, The answer is yes. Absolutely, unapologetically, yes. You've never been too much. You've always been exactly enough for the path you were destined to walk. The right people, the right places, the right opportunities. They will recognize you not because you contorted yourself to be accepted, but because you dared to be real. So let them say you've changed. You have. That's the whole point. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be powerful. You are not here to be pleasing. You are not here to be pleasing. You are here to be whole. You don't owe anyone an apology for growing. Not your family, not the version of yourself that once believed smaller was safer, and certainly not the friends who preferred you quiet, agreeable, or easy to manage. Your growth may have made others uncomfortable, but that's not your burden to carry anymore. For far too long, you've molded yourself to fit the comfort zones of others. You tiptoed around your own truth to keep the peace, softened your edges to be more palatable, and swallowed your voice to maintain harmony. But that harmony was never real. It was conditional, fragile, built on your silence. Every time you dimmed your own light, just to keep someone else from squinting, a piece of your soul whispered in protest. You may not have heard it at first, or maybe you ignored it, thinking it was just fear or rebellion. But it wasn't. It was your true self, begging to be seen, begging to breathe. And now, that voice is no longer willing to be hushed. It's rising, fierce, certain, unapologetic. The era of playing it safe has expired. The era of shrinking is over. You're being called to step out of the shell of who you were and into the full embodiment of who you are. This isn't just a metaphor. It's an energetic shift, a spiritual reckoning, a return to truth. That exhaustion you've been carrying around like a second skin, it's not from the pace of life. It's not just about work or stress or responsibilities. It's from the pressure of performance. The performance of being okay when you're not. The performance of being emotionally composed when you feel like crumbling. You've turned yourself into a walking facade, a curated image that smiles when it wants to scream, that nods when it wants to say no, that blends in when it was born to stand out. And while that mask may have served you once, maybe it kept you safe, maybe it helped you survive, it's not sustainable anymore. Your spirit is suffocating under the weight of inauthenticity. You were never meant to live in a costume. You were never meant to spend your life rehearsing lines for a play that doesn't serve your soul. This portal, this 369 activation, it sees through it all. It's not deceived by your perfect posture or your polished sentences. It doesn't care how well you hold it together on the outside. It feels your frequency. It hears what your lips won't say. It knows when you're lying to yourself. And here's the truth. It doesn't want your perfection. It wants your realness. It wants your wild, messy, glorious truth. That's the only language this portal understands. The only energy it responds to. So if you've been hiding behind calm when your heart is screaming, if you've been nodding when your spirit is resisting, if you've been agreeing to lives and roles that feel like cages, this is your moment to stop, to shatter the illusion, to come back to life. Because playing it small doesn't protect you. It poisons you. It slowly kills the parts of you that are most sacred. And your soul wasn't born to be silenced. You've smiled when you wanted to cry. You've said, "I'm fine," when you were barely hanging on. You've tolerated what your body was rejecting, all because you didn't want to disturb the peace. But at what cost? You need to ask yourself that now, not later. How much of your life actually feels like yours? How much of it was built from your truth? And how much of it was built to keep others comfortable? Let it fall apart. Let the lies unravel. Let the polished image crack open. There is more power in your rawness than in 100 false smiles. There is more magnetism in your tears than in any pretense of peace. Stop trying to impress. Stop trying to be put together. Stop trying to be mysterious or poetic or calm if that's not what you really feel. Be real, be here, be you. Let the voice of your soul finally roar. Let it thunder through your chest like a storm that refuses to be silenced. Let it burn through every mask, every lie, every illusion you've carried. Because this moment is sacred, and it's not asking for your perfection. It's asking for your presence. This is your remembering. This is the moment where the veil lifts and you finally meet yourself again. Fully, deeply, honestly. The self you buried under expectations. The self you lost in all your pleasing and performing. The self you abandoned to survive. If you're here reading these words, this isn't a coincidence. This is not just a poetic offering or spiritual idea. This is a transformation already in motion. The 369 portal has found you. It called to the deepest part of your being, and you responded. Even if it was just with a whisper, a sigh, a flicker of recognition in your chest. It doesn't respond to ego. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It responds to truth. And if you've made it this far, you're already crossing over. The shift has begun. This isn't just a season. It's not just a new chapter. It's a threshold, a sacred passageway between who you were and who you're becoming. And what waits on the other side isn't just more clarity, it's more truth, more alignment, more aliveness. But make no mistake, this passage won't be smooth. Transformation rarely is. It may feel like things are falling apart, and in some ways they are. But only the false things, only the roles, the beliefs, the versions of you that were never real to begin with. The grief is not for what you're losing, it's for what you never truly had. Safety, belonging, wholeness, not the imitation of those things, but the real thing. And now you're walking toward that realness, toward what your soul has longed for. You may lose people, you may outgrow environments, you may feel alone, but you won't be empty. You'll be free. And that freedom will cost you your illusions, but it will gift you yourself. This is the kind of transformation that doesn't need a witness. You don't need anyone's permission to reclaim your soul. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone, because the person you're becoming doesn't require validation. They require truth. They require presence. They require your full participation. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the fear of being too much. Let go of the comfort of being invisible. You are not here to be digestible. You are here to be whole. And whole means messy. Whole means radiant. Whole means unapologetically alive. This portal asks for one thing, your decision, not your analysis, not your planning, not your perfect mapped-out path, just your decision. To stop pretending, to start becoming, to choose yourself every single time. And yes, there will be moments of doubt. There will be days when the old patterns try to pull you back. But remember this, truth, once awakened, doesn't go back to sleep. It keeps calling, and it will keep calling until you answer. So if your heart is aching, if your skin feels too tight for your spirit, if you've been crying more than usual or dreaming more vividly, don't dismiss it. You are not breaking. You are being broken open, to feel, to heal, to live. You don't have to know what comes next. You only need to know what can't continue. And that's the pretending, the performing, the pleasing. It ends now. This is your initiation into a deeper life, a truer life. One where your voice matters. One where your light is not a liability. One where your presence is not a burden. You are not too much. You never were. You were simply waiting for a moment that could hold all of you. This is that moment. And yes, it's vulnerable. Yes, it's scary. But it's also the most beautiful homecoming of your life. The loneliness of truth is nothing compared to the emptiness of pretending. And now, as you step fully into your light, you may feel exposed, but you'll also feel alive. You've crossed the threshold. You've shed the skin that no longer fits. You've said yes to your becoming. And that is everything. Welcome home. And I'll see you on the other side.